Good morning, everyone. How we doing? Good? So my name is Matty Benedetto. I've been in Vermont, as she mentioned, since 2008. And today I'm just going to kind of go over the history of where I got to where I am today, because I kind of have an interesting history trying different entrepreneurial ventures, and then kind of what led to Unnecessary Inventions starting, to then what are some of the key things that I think made it so successful to what it is today. The clicker's not working. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're back. And now I went too far. Sure, we back one more. Are we going? Sorry. There we go. So I'm an inventor. I'm completely self-taught. So I went to school for business and marketing, and I've just slowly taught myself all of these skills across many different years of just watching YouTube videos and learning how to 3D design things, to just buying a camera and figuring out how to use it, how to edit videos. And so in that time, I've been doing Unnecessary Inventions since 2019, and I've done about 400 or so different inventions since that time. Some of them can be something that's super simple that takes me 5 hours to build, and some of them take maybe about a week. For the most part, I'm pretty quick and rapid on the way that I have the idea in my head and I bring it to life. And so in that time, I've amassed about 15 million followers across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I even post on LinkedIn. I've had 2 instances. I've been in an airport, and some guy's like, "You're that guy from LinkedIn, aren't you?" So, so it's like me, it's like I try to get my eyeballs out there no matter where I can find them. And so all of those videos, I've done over 5 billion video views, so also that's kind of why a lot of people have seen this mustache. And, I'm just an evil genius. When you work for yourself, you can give yourself whatever title you want to give. And so the core of Unnecessary Inventions is that I say I design products that no one is asking for, that solve problems that do not exist. And so some people here might not exactly know who I am or what I do, so I brought a few of them. So we can start. So this one is a classic, that you're on the beach, you're trying to get some sunscreen on your back, you throw some sunscreen on there, and if you have no one at the beach, you can put sunscreen on your back by yourself. We've got that one. This one, I am born Italian, and I upset the entire Italian community. This one here is called the noodle nipper. So say you're eating your spaghetti, you just go ahead, instead of spinning it around and getting the sauce all over you, you go ahead, put it in here, cuts it off into small bites, and then you can eat it that way. Let's see. This one here, this one is if you're out with a bunch of friends. It is the credit card roulette machine. Everyone throws their card down in there. You slowly wait for it to randomly pick someone's card, and it finally stops, and now this person has to pay for the entire meal. And then maybe you're playing video games, and this one's called the Rage Quit Protector. You play your video games, you go inside, you can still see it's clear on top so you can play the game, and that second you lose your Fortnite game, and you throw your controller across the room. It's a nice safety bubble to protect your controller, so you don't have to buy a new one every single week. And so that's what they look like in their physical form, and then I thought we could play one of my classic invention videos here to show you what it looks like on the internet.
I invented the burrito bumper, the food funnel for sloppy burritos that catches your fallen fillings and carefully crafts a secondary taco for you to enjoy. First, effortlessly insert a tortilla into the bottom basket and begin binging on your overstuffed burrito. As it ultimately falls apart, the overflow of ingredients will conveniently flow into the funnel and be swiftly inserted into your newly created taco below. Upon the last bite of your burrito, simply reach down and go to town on your freshly recycled taco creation.
So that one's like a unnecessary classic. That one's been memed like a million times over. So that's sort of like the basis, and then over time, there's just been so many different things that I haven't narrowed myself down into one niche, that it can literally be across any vertical platform product. Let's see, some classics up here. We've got the cold shower shield. So when you step in the shower, you turn the shower on, and before the hot water comes out, you flip that down so that you don't get any of that cold water on. Then once it gets up to temperature, you can flip it up. So these are just a look at some of the inventions over the years. I am getting over a cold, so sorry if I sound a little sexy and raspy today. But so I thought I'd start a little bit, so the business side of things. So one thing to note is that I almost exclusively do not sell any of my inventions. So it's all based around the content portion of what I'm doing, building the inventions, showing them how they're built, doing those classic commercials. And so I've worked with a number of different brands, creating inventions that both live on my social media accounts, the brand social media accounts. They come to me with a marketing campaign, and I build a brand new invention that sort of goes along with their product. So it's kind of an interesting balance of saying, I swear your product's not unnecessary. We're just doing like a little side accessory here. I won Creator of the Year at the Webby Awards, and I also have done some TV. I filmed America's Got Talent, and it went so poorly that it never aired. I've done another TV show with Simon Cowell, and he really liked me, so I was like, oh, this is gonna be perfect. I got up on stage, immediately Simon just hits X, he goes, we're not doing this again. And I go, well, here's a great way to start the show. So that never saw the light of day, but it was still a fun experience. So kind of starting way back. So to give a reference, I'm 34 years old now. 20 years ago, I started my first business when I was 14 years old. I grew up ski racing in the Adirondacks in New York, and my mom taught me how to hand crochet hats. So one year, I was just hand crocheting hats, making them for friends. By the next winter came along, I was like, I'm gonna create a website, and then anyone could type in the email form, tell me what they wanted their hat to look like. I would hand crochet it and ship it off to them wherever they were. And I was advertising on free skiing forums and stuff like that, and getting my name out there that way. And so by the time I was 15 years old, I was actually a lifeguard at summer, saved all my money as I was a lifeguard, and I transitioned from hand crocheting all of the individual hats to doing the most logical thing a 15-year-old does, is I outsourced the production all to China, and I had them produce all of the rest of the stuff. So I went from designing individual hats to then sort of set collections. I was sponsoring athletes in the X Games and traveling all around to these different ski events, mainly selling winter apparel. And that was all while I was still in New York. And so my roots started in Vermont when I was getting ready to head to college. And I actually only applied to 2 schools, St. Mike's and Babson. And I applied to St. Mike's, and I reached out to the business department there. I was like, hey, I have this business. Is there anything you can do for me? So the first day of moving into St. Mike's as a freshman, I moved into my dorm, and then I also moved into my office that I had on campus all 4 years. So that was like the first time I was like, okay, I think Vermont might be for me, because I think I had to pay electricity on this. So I had to pay like $64 a month or something like that, electricity and heat. So that was me moving into my office first year at St. Mike's. And so I ran this company throughout college. I diversified a little bit in the summer of selling t-shirts and sunglasses, but for the most part, it really stayed core to a winter brand. And so as I was getting ready to graduate college, I used my marketing degree, and I got a job at Fuse Marketing. But I still had that kind of entrepreneurial mindset. This was kind of still going on. And then I decided to make the shift, and I started a new brand called Eastern Collective. And so I actually invented like wrapping charging cables in the fabric that you now see at every single gas station. So I applied for patents, and they said the patent drawings didn't look round enough. So I didn't get any of the patents I applied for. Now you can buy them at every gas station. But so this brand, I took this, it essentially, in the first month of me launching all of these new products, I sold more in the first 3 weeks selling tech accessories than I sold the entire year selling winter apparel. So like immediately I shelved all the winter apparel, and I said, this is my new focus. So from here, this was the brand that I would say was like the most classic traditional retail brand. I sold everywhere from Zoomies, PacSun, Barney's, every restoration hardware. I designed all of the tech accessories for J. Crew stores. I designed all the tech accessories for in-flight at Qatar Airlines. And all throughout this, again, still just kind of figuring it out on my own, figuring out all these different skills. I never have hired a single employee for any. It's kind of ironic that I'm at a job conference that I've been self-employed my whole life, I know. And then I did this company up until it was around 2015. You know, I just kind of, myself, I like to reinvent myself. So like, I was seeing all of these different things on the internet, different ways to sell stuff, rather than just doing traditional retail, selling all this stuff. And that's when I decided that I wanted to start another company, because I thought, okay, everyone charges their phones. What's like the next thing people love to spend money on? And it was travel. And I had gotten really interested in crowdfunding, of taking this idea that you kind of have nothing behind it, you throw it out on the internet, and see what kind of reaction you can get behind it. And so then that's when I started my third company, which was called Sondre Travel. And this was a travel pillow I designed. And kind of similar to, you know, just going to St. Mike's and being like, hey, can you give me something? You know, the generosity of Vermonters. I had that video. I had to film the Kickstarter video. I emailed Heritage Aviation, because I was like, it'd be a little ironic, but it would look so cool if I was on a private jet filming this video. So I emailed Heritage Aviation down at the airport, and I was just like, hey, can I come film this video? Do you guys have any private jets I could borrow for the day? And lo and behold, a week later, me and my friend from college, we were walking around a private jet that had a busted engine, so they knew nobody was gonna be taking it. They let me film, do whatever I want for the whole day. And that day I did learn, when you're in an airport and you're filming, you don't say, I want to go shoot a few more shots. Don't say shoot in an airport. I learned that very quickly. So this company was focused much more around these larger Kickstarter launches. So it was kind of the early iteration of Unnecessary Inventions, where I have this idea and I just want to put it out on the internet. I had no inventory for these products. It was just the idea. I had the one sample, and I was just selling the dream online. So all of these different projects, we had the Voyage pillow, the Voyage bag, and the Voyage chair, all were Kickstarter projects that you have 30 days, you basically set a funding goal, you put it out there, you hope you hit your funding goal so that then you can put it all into production. And so the Voyage pillow, I think I had the funding goal, I think to hit the minimum order quantity for production, I needed $15,000. In the first 30 days, I ended up doing $150,000. So I was like, okay, I've got something here. And I was still sort of running the iPhone cable business, but I was like, okay, this is my new baby and my new focus. So over the years, I would have these kind of tentpole Kickstarter launches of these grand ideas, and then I would sprinkle little things, like I would just drop a wallet or a travel organizer in between these different things. So this was definitely more of just experimenting with what are different ways that I could get my ideas out there on the internet, rather than just kind of like spending 6 months developing this product and trying to get it out there and hopefully that it sticks. And then things got unnecessary. So I kind of the start of the new year, as you're going into February, holiday sales are kind of slowing down, and China, for the most part, that's where I produced all of my products in the past. China sort of shuts down for all of February. So I was just like, I'm always one to want to buy new technology, from drones and, always having the first one. And I was at the Staples over in South Burlington, and they had a 3D printer there. And I was like, I didn't know you could just buy 3D printers in a store now. So I went ahead and I bought my very first 3D printer, started tinkering around. I had no idea how to use it. That machine, I think it made the first 100 or so inventions. I had that one printer that was just an absolute workhorse. So the way 3D printers work, you can go online, download files, and 3D print things that other people have designed and made and all that kind of stuff. But again, having these ideas in my head, I wanted to figure out, how do I make the things that are in my head overnight in this 3D printer? So I started learning 3D modeling, and I would now then create my very first Unnecessary Inventions before it had a name. These were the Air Sticks. So AirPods were just coming out in early 2019. Everyone was making fun of the way that the stalks looked coming out of your ears. And so I made chopstick extensions to kind of accentuate that design feature. So if you're ever out, you could throw those on and you're going to get sushi, you pop them out of your ears, and now you have chopsticks. So again, just having this mindset from the Kickstarter campaigns of taking these ideas I have in my head and just throwing them out on the internet, I put it up on Reddit and just said like, hey, I like to make things, here's this thing I made. I woke up the next morning and it was on the front page of Reddit, and I was like, whoa. I was like, maybe I have something here. So in the comments of that, someone was like, I feel like such a nerd when I tie a sweater around my waist. Like, I hate walking around with the sweater tied around my waist. Is there some other way I can do it? So then I created this whole chest harness bracket that then has a coat hook going off the back of you, so you can walk around with a coat on the back instead of looking like an idiot with it tied around your waist. So I used that, and I was like, oh, hey guys, hey Reddit, I'm that guy from 3 days ago. I posted that thing. Here's this new one I made. So I was just sort of going through this cycle of just sort of both taking my ideas for people that were sending me on the internet, and around like the 10th invention that like every single one was hitting the front page of Reddit, I was like, I've got something here. I don't know what it is yet, but I need to figure out how to like capture this energy that I'm creating on the internet. And that's when I created the name Unnecessary Inventions. And that's when I started the Instagram account and started just like taking all of these ideas I had and rapidly producing them. I mean, it was like sometimes every single day I had a new invention in a week. And so in that first summer of 2019, I thought in my head, by Christmas, I would love to have a book that was called 101 Unnecessary Inventions. So I just took all of the inventory I had from the travel brand, threw it all on Amazon, so I knew it would be like kind of self-automated, that sales could still come in, but I didn't have to think of the day-to-day operations of shipping it out, customer service, all that kind of stuff. And I just went full steam ahead, just trying to build so many different inventions that would hopefully build this audience that could then somehow turn it into a business. And so, that looked like, taking the brand of itself, once I kind of had that, once I had that name, expanding into new, I started on Instagram probably by like 30 or so inventions. I was like, okay, people want to know the personality behind this, because TikTok wasn't out yet, and I was just doing photos. So it's like, okay, maybe I should start a YouTube channel and then take it from YouTube, and then using Twitter to like create a little bit more of a conversation, of a place for people to send me invention ideas. So kind of starting that initial push to like really try and reach every single corner of the internet. And so I went from doing photos to then going on YouTube and making long form videos. So going from the immediate start of me coming up with the idea to showing every little step along the way to building the inventions, to then creating the final product. And then, as I mentioned, I then started going on different TV shows. I've been on the Kelly Clarkson Show 5 times. I've been on the Sherry Shepherd Show, the Today Show. And that, again, like kind of similar to me asking St. Mike's to come on to get an office, asking Heritage. I'm very much one to nag that, like, I don't care if you say no, just say no to me and I'll leave you alone. So it's like the TV shows. I got on Kelly Clarkson once, and like every 6 months I'd be like, okay guys, I'm like, I would just lie to them and be like, I'm in New York City right now, can I come in tomorrow for another episode? And then I would have to rapidly make a bunch of inventions. So I would, just kind of really push myself out there to get any eyeballs I could on the brand. And then, kind of as that early start of putting so much more content out on the internet, you do make money from just the core social media platforms of uploading your videos to YouTube. The longer videos make more money, so that's why I was focused so much, because I knew that there was YouTube money out there to be had. That's why I wanted to create these different formats to be able to have these different revenue streams to then turn this into an actual functioning business. And as I mentioned, that I don't really sell the inventions, so I wanted to, create a world around the inventions that I could have another revenue stream. So created a board game that it's sort of like QVC meets Shark Tank meets Pictionary. So you're sort of given first world problems. You have to draw, come up with an invention, pitch it to all your friends. We've sold like 20,000 copies of the board game across Barnes & Noble and all sorts of different stores. But the biggest thing that turned it from, doing pretty decent to like a grand slam home run was getting those brand deals. So that was my very first brand deal I ever got, was for Bud Light. I was, before controversy, supporting gay artists on the internet, and they came to me, and it was usually an agency in between me and them, and they said, "What's your rate?" And I was like, "I have no idea what my rate is." So I gave them a number, and the agency was like, "Oh, okay, we're actually gonna double it because that's what we have for the budget." And I was like, "Now I have my rate." And so when that happened, I was like, that was like the big light bulb in my head, be like, okay, this is really where the guts of the business is creating this platform for other brands. Because I have those 5 billion video views, it's brands now want to attach myself to my brand, my personal image, but then also the audience that I have of taking what I've built and then, adapting it to then promoting those products in an authentic way. And the biggest thing is that I say no to so many more in-brand deals than I actually get. So again, it's like staying authentic to my own brand, but then also building the brand alongside these other businesses. And so the main thing I want to kind of focus on is, why did this work? It's different for an inventor to just sort of build all of these things and create this very different avenue that is not really typical that you would see from a typical inventor. And I think the biggest thing is that I did kind of what was unexpected. Everyone out there who has an idea that they want to bring to life, the goal is, okay, I've got this idea, I'm gonna perfect it over months, I'm gonna do every necessary step, I'm gonna put it out on the market, and I'm gonna try and make as most money as I can selling this product in the world. And I did the complete opposite of that. I was taking these ideas, coming up with the fastest way that I could take the idea from my head to a physical version in my hand and have it out in the world, and then never sell it. So anytime someone came to my social media and they're scrolling the feed, they're like, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I wanna buy it, where's the store?" And then they go in my page and they're like, "Wait, he doesn't have a store selling these." So then they're sort of going through the feed of "Wait a minute, there's 400 of these and you can't buy them." They're like, "So what the hell is this kid doing?" So then, then they're diving deeper, and it's like, wait, so is he building these? Or, because sometimes people think I just find them on the internet and I'm just making a video about it. So it's creating that unexpected moment that stops that scroll in the news feed on your social media. Then you dive deeper, and then eventually you hit follow, and now I have a new follower. So it's sort of creating this unexpected twist to grab that attention, because there's just so much going on the internet. So it's figuring out that little pocket that you have to create the eyeball stopping moment. And then the biggest thing was, once I started building this community, is cultivating it for them along for the ride. So it's, showing them the behind the scenes is one thing, but I think everyone has that one idea that you're thinking, all right, I've had 3 beers and this product could make $1 million. And so every single Sunday on my Instagram, I do a thing called Sunday Inspiration Session. So sometimes it's a free form where it's just all right, dump your idea on me. Or sometimes I'm sitting on a plane and I'm like, all right, what are we building for an airplane? And people can crowdsource different ideas. Or I'll do the opposite and I'll say, what's a current problem you have in your life? So then people can submit ideas. And so, it's kind of a needle in a haystack, going through a few thousand replies, finding the one that might actually be one that could work for an unnecessary invention. But, once I do actually make one of the inventions, in the post that after I post the video, I'll say concept submitted. So then that person who submitted that idea now has the credit that, they might not have the resources to bring that idea to life, but now that idea that they had in their head, they saw it come to life, and it kind of builds this momentum of, now every single time I do Sunday Inspiration Session, someone's gonna be like, oh, I wanna be the one that gets the concept submitted page on the page. And then it's also, I started doing some other series where they started doing kind of long form series. This was my jigsaw puzzle coffee table, and I would build different accessories for it. So each time, we got a video, yeah. And people could
So we already built the
their
cup
ideas.
holder, the remote stand, and the outlet accessories. So it would be great to have somewhere to put all of my snacks. We only have one problem. I think one jigsaw puzzle piece is gonna be too small, so let's make a bowl that's 4 wide to fit all of my favorite snacks. So I got nice and cozy in my rocking chair and started working on the 3D model that was gonna be the bowl that would fit inside our coffee table. I decided to go with hot pink because I thought it would contrast nice against all the other colors. And I set up the 3D print to go overnight because it took about 8 hours to fully print this accessory. But once I got back to the studio, it was looking so good. Now we just had to make sure it was gonna fit right into those 4 compartments in the coffee table. But come on, we knew it was gonna fit perfectly, so I filled it up to the brim with some snacks, reached in for a big bite, and now the only thing on my mind is what is the next accessory that I'm gonna build?
And so, with that, I could take those ideas and, when people watch the video, they see that I used a comment from the previous one. So it's building that engagement that now people are going to comment all sorts of different ideas, hoping that their idea is picked for the next accessory for the table. That series did, I don't know, it was 200 million views, which I think the big success of that was collaborating with the community. That it also helped taking a little bit of the stress off me that I didn't have to think of everything every time, that I could be like, okay, what are we building today? That thing. And then the biggest thing is crafting for engagement. Kind of the collaboration part definitely crafts for some engagement, but for me, I try to hide Easter eggs within my videos, whether it's the way I do something that someone's like, why did you, putting the toilet paper over one way? Or the way I might be if it's a food invention. Sometimes I'll do a plate and it'll be like a waffle, a steak, an egg. So everyone will be like, wait, what kind of meal are you having with a chocolate bar, a sausage? So it's creating those little moments that make people, as they're watching the video, whether they're confused or interested or they just want to create that moment for engagement, for helping it with the algorithm. And I think for me, the biggest thing is purposefully putting in mistakes that I know people are going to correct me on. This one is my biggest one. So I think this one, you will watch the video and you'll see if you can note the error I purposefully put in it. I think it has 47,000 comments on YouTube of people correcting the error that I made in this video. It's towards the end.
I think I figured out the perfect invention to get rid of the rattle inside of a pack of Tic Tacs, so let's go build it. Obviously, I'm gonna have to figure out the exact size of a little Tic Tac, so I can hop into my computer and go into Fusion 360 and start designing this product that comes out looking a little bit something like this. Hopefully it works. Next, it was time to head off to the 3D printers and get all of those different parts going on the printers, so once it was finished, I could grab it and start gluing the 2 pieces together that we were gonna need. It fit like a glove, so now it's time to fill up all of the individual cells with the Tic Tac, 16 on the front, 16 on the back, so if my math is correct, that's 36 Tic Tacs. So then you just gotta slide it back into the original case. And now I will never have to worry about my Tic Tacs rattling in my pocket ever again.
So 47,000 comments of people telling me that 16 plus 16 is actually 32. And you would think that maybe by 100 comments, you would see that there was already 100 people telling me that it was 32. But no, 47,000 people had to tell me that it was 32. So, as people hear, all the stuff I do might not exactly fit into what you do at your day job, but I think there's different ways that you could adapt. For me, it's purposely creating a mistake, but you can think in your head, what's the moment that is gonna make people stop and think and wanna reply to you in a video, or something that you're creating for your business as well. And then the other thing is creating content for the internet in general. So, I'm collaborating with my own audience, but then there's also the part of collaborating with the internet that they might have no idea who I am. they stumble across my video and they want to interact with it. And the way that, so much of the short form content platforms are built now, they're very much built around collaboration. So in TikTok, you can take a TikTok video, someone else can then remix it. So they're taking a section of your video and then reacting to it. And so in my head, as I'm filming and editing my videos, I'm always thinking like, okay, what is the 6-second remix section that if someone wants to take my video and boost it onto their platform, what's that one little 6-second window that they can perfectly use? They don't have to re-edit. They can just grab it from my video and put it into theirs. So this first video is an example of kind of taking that and then someone else can use it for their content.
The Watch Your Step rug, the only rug that allows you to walk on it without getting it dirty.
So it's creating that moment that someone else, so when they do that, it's linking my original video, so then you kind of get that little 4-second snippet, so then you might want to go back, watch my original video. That remix got like 10 million views, which then drives traffic to people from her audience that maybe have never seen my inventions, so it's kind of creating that collaborative moment. And similarly, looking at creators that are larger than me, that have a much larger audience, that then I'm like laser focusing in on them. So the other video is a creator named Chris Olsen, and he has about, 10 million followers on TikTok, and he had this ongoing series delivering coffee around the world. So I created an invention, and he created this video literally doing nothing, so I'm giving him free content to react to. He had to put, you'll see, 0 effort into the video, but then his video got 20 million views that then again lets an entire new audience see my content.
I designed this little invention here that helps solve a problem for literally only one person in the entire world. You see, Chris Olsen is a content creator, and he travels the entire world filming himself delivering coffee to celebrities like Tom Daley, Jojo Siwa, and Austin Butler. So I wanted to figure out what the perfect distance was to film your coffee. Once I had that, I could measure my coffee cup and my phone. So then I got extra cozy on the couch so I could design a 3D model of this invention to send off to the 3D printers. And I patiently waited for that to print, grabbed the first piece, got the second one going, also got that. And of course the 2 pieces fit perfectly together. I got my phone in there, then I slid the coffee cup, and it was looking great. So now when Chris goes to film himself delivering coffee all over the world, he has the scientifically perfect angle every single time.
And so, literally, I was texting with him, and he was on the way to the airport, and he just sat there staring at the phone. And so it's as a content creator, you just have to constantly, 24/7, be thinking of new ideas, putting it out. So for me, I was creating the new window idea for him. So he had to put 0 effort into this, but it was a way for me to put the effort in to then show up on his content page. So it's a way of like kind of thinking about what's ways that I can just reach every corner of the internet. And he ended up, I shipped him that. We made a few more. He used them in his videos, and it actually he was like, because I would always be juggling, trying to hold it, then I'd have to open a door and I'd have to change the angle. So it actually ended up being pretty necessary for him. And then for me, it's always kind of adapting what my formula is. So that video kind of at the start with the burrito bumper, I invented, that's like the core classic unnecessary inventions video. But you can't kind of ride on that forever. So it's kind of figuring out new formats that would work. And so for me, that just looks like trying to, when you're on top, you don't want to, or the opposite, sorry. When you're on the bottom, you don't want to be experimenting, trying to figure out a way to rise to the top. So as my videos are doing really well, that's like the prime time to be testing things out. You can have those tentpole videos that you just know are going to be bangers, and then I can do videos where it might be a little more technical, but this video was me describing the exact little details of creating the invention and why I painted it red and did all this stuff that I wasn't sure if it was going to be too niche and too small and, went into too many details that people didn't care about, but it did almost 200,000 likes. So it's like testing out those new formats makes me realize that, all the different areas where people might want to learn more, all of them aren't going to nail it. And so that's sort of like why you just got to, every single video doesn't need to be a viral video. It's like creating the community. It's like creating the things that your community wants to see. So it's having all of those different pockets of content to just really build the brand and build the community behind you. And now I believe we're gonna do some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Matty. Hi, Kathy again. So I'm going to do this little Oprah thing. So if you all have some questions, I can come to you. See one over here. And while I'm walking, I'll just tell you that, Matty, that was amazing. We have another presentation this afternoon at 3, which I hope you'll stick around for, from OnLogic. And here is your question.
Hi, what is your favorite invention, and bonus points if it's not something that anybody else was really into?
Well, that's one interesting thing is if I am really dedicated to the invention idea, that means I know it's gonna flop because it's like somehow it's like only a problem I have. For me, I always say I've done so many, and it's like I almost forget them sometimes because it's like they come and go so quickly. So a lot of times, it's my favorite invention is the one that I'm currently working on. She actually saw it in my office last week when she visited. I'm working on a office chair seesaw, so it's to make meetings a little bit more interesting. The first one I built, I sat in it and the metal arms just bent, so currently rebuilding it. But currently that's my favorite one that the world hasn't seen yet. But typically it's like the one that because for me it's like I see the idea in my head so vividly, and that's why I want to just like rapidly put it out. So the favorite one is always whatever that image I'm currently seeing in my brain, and right now it's the office chair seesaw.
That was also my favorite invention. I just in a lot of meetings, I was like, oh, that would make them so much more interesting. We have next question. Over here.
Hi, I'm Michael. Welcome and thank you very much. Fascinating. How do you fund all of your products and creations?
So the main thing is the brand partnerships. So when you have an audience as large as I do, I've done things I was in a Super Bowl commercial. Those things pay a pretty penny. And so it's really building the audience and having the eyeballs behind you that makes those Fortune 500 brands come to me to build those invention ideas. So it's so I just did one last week for a launch. Wendy's launched their new saucy chicken nuggets. So for their ad campaign, I built a hands-free, it's sort of like a Ferris wheel to deliver the chicken nuggets to your mouth so your hands don't have to get super saucy while you're doing things. So it's integrating into their marketing campaign that, a lot of times it's a marketing agency that comes to me, has the idea for their client, and then it's me kind of getting inserted into this grander marketing campaign that goes on.
Great. I've got another question over here.
2 questions. How many 3D printers have you owned at one time? And did you ever end up finishing the table and filling it all up with all the stuff?
I don't know if people also saw this year my studio got fully destroyed from a fire in my building. So I just saw the table. The table is a little rough, so I need to open a new one. So I was actually just recently thinking of restarting the jigsaw puzzle table. I actually was gonna get rid of all the old ones and just start fresh. And let's see, the most amount of 3D printers I've had at one time, I think it was 32. The other perk is that all of the manufacturers that make these 3D printers now just send them to me to use in the videos. So it's like I just get to my studio one day and there's just 2 new 3D printers sitting there in the box. If you're savvy enough and you have your eye, you can tell which ones I'm selling on Craigslist. I usually am a little non-discreet about it, but yeah, the old ones I don't use sometimes end up on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist.
Thanks. We have a question over here.
When you use the video game protector, does the remote ever fall out of one of the holes in the sides?
I think it did when I was filming it one time, because they are, so this was like the only prototype that I made, so that would be one change I would make, is making it a little bit smaller, because it can extend, so it does kind of come out in and out a little bit easy. That's the nice thing about filming the videos and also not having to sell them, is I can always just edit the video and cut that part of the video out. If you would be surprised at how many features happen in the editing room.
I know you have yours, but I saw one back there. Maybe I'll just get you first.
This is actually more of a suggestion than a question, but one of the things I've noticed is a bunch of the tables here have a lot of different pen combinations. Would you ever consider making a pen with as many different combinations as possible? There were screwdrivers, rulers, phone stands, all sorts of things like that.
That could be a good one. Yeah, I'm thinking immediately of those pens that have 4 different sides that you click all the different colors, so some way to click all of the different accessories in. I took that idea, I made a condiment dispenser like that. That was for Weight Watchers, yeah, so that was, that's a good one. I'll have to write that down in my notebook.
Thanks for the presentation. I was wondering, what do you do with the inventions when you're done with it? And have you thought of creating a little gallery display or a little unnecessary museum?
Yeah, so it's a mix. Some of them survive filming and some of them don't. When you build it in 3 days, the joints are sometimes only works so many times. So some are on display in my studio. But a Unnecessary Inventions Museum is I've been thinking about it for years. And I've explored a few different avenues for it. So the one nice thing is that because all of the things are designed mostly on my computer and 3D printed, is I have the digital assets that anytime I could just go ahead and reprint a new one for. So I've been working on the list of taking the 400 and maybe whittling it down to 75 to fit in a room. And I think that's kind of the next iteration, is taking all of this stuff that I've done on the internet and turning it a little bit more in real life. Because I went to a friend's studio in New York City that I know from Instagram, and he has a wall of all of his stuff, and I'm like, oh, I remember that one, I remember that. I was like, other people would have that same feeling with me. So maybe, hopefully soon, I don't know.
Do you have any inventions that you wanted to go back and either make better or worse?
Well, so in this process of thinking about the museum and thinking about inventions, of whittling that idea list down, it's I go back to some of the digital files of those first inventions I made, and I'm like, wow, I really had no idea what I was doing back then. So kind of, I've done one YouTube video called Reinventing My Old Inventions, because I do look at some of them, I'm like, oh, I had no idea how to solder back then. So it's I could have added buttons here and there that other features. So yeah, so it's something I do here and there, that if I'm setting something up in my studio, that I kind of take that original file I had, and now using all the skills I have today, re-envision it with the same essence, but giving it new life.
We have so many questions popping up all around me. So I have Rocket here.
Thank you. What is your filtering criteria for when you're selecting an idea to pursue and build? And once you're in the building process, how many iterations you'll do, and versus when you feel like it's done? Because by virtue of it being unnecessary, technically that could be any point, right?
It's a mix of, because I'm across so many different things that I do, I try to not have it be food invention, food invention, food invention. So I try to, mainly when I'm deciding what idea is next, it's kind of based on things I've recently done and like trying to create a diverse thing to kind of hit different sections of the internet. Iterations, it depends, mainly because I'm not an engineer. Like whenever there's moving parts, I'm like, it's moving this way in my brain. How do I make it move that way in real life? So, I mean, for the most part, again, because it's like never more than at most 3 to 5 days that an idea to like video posted, that like I get to the good enough phase and I'm like, okay, you know, this idea, the story is there. So that's, I think, the biggest thing is like, as long as I have the story behind what the invention does, then that iteration's good enough for me, and I move on. So it's, because some of them, like the burrito bumper, it's literally a funnel. You can just go buy a funnel at the store, but it's the story of the burrito falling apart into the taco that is like the more guts of it, rather than the actual design of the invention itself.
You could take a few more questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
Hi, I'm Matty.
The other Matty.
Matty. Have you ever thought of hiring an editor, or have you ever hired an editor?
It's the one difficult thing is like so much of my process is so integrated into what I do. It's probably not the most efficient way, but like, again, it's like the story is so important. So while I'm filming, I'm also editing, kind of knowing the pacing of the story. So if there ever was an editor, it would be like someone that would have to be there, like right on top of me, watching me film and be like, okay, wait, we're done that shot. Okay, let's go edit that clip. So it's a blessing and a curse that I have this process so streamlined, but it's also down the road going to be a difficult thing to chop up if I did need to, you know, delegate it to other people. It's such a well-oiled machine at this point that it's just sort of what I do day in, day out.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep track. Everybody's making eye contact. Like, I meant to ask you, are you an editor? Good to know. If anyone is looking for an editor, over here, there's one. Okay.
Hi, thank you for the talk. You mentioned that as a creator, you have to be coming up with ideas and putting them out there 24/7. Do you ever burn out? And when you do, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I came here from my studio this morning. I am like literally there probably 7 days a week. I think the biggest thing is knowing. It's difficult when I first started. I thought I had to be on the internet. I had to be putting stuff out, or I'd be forgotten. And it's, you know, maybe because I have such a platform now, I know that I can step away and they'll still be there. And so I think no matter what size you are, like everyone on the internet, there's so much content that I think if you really create that community, you can step away and take a break. Like I'm flying to New York right after this and taking a couple days off. So I think it's knowing that if your brain, for me, it's like if I don't have an idea, I don't work on anything. It's not until I have that idea that I'm passionate about that I like dive into it, because I know that if I start an idea that I'm putting out just because I feel like I need to put out the content, it immediately flops because the audience knows that I half-assed this thing because it's not authentic to what I do. So I think that the burnt out work gets known by the audience, that they know that you don't care about it. So it's you got to know when to step away.
Yes, wise words. We do have a couple more questions. We have time for just a couple more.
Sure.
And then you're gonna have to talk to Matty yourself. Here you go.
Earlier in the talk, you said you did designs for Qatar Airlines and you also made the charging cable and that kind of stuff. How did you go about designing and meeting with companies in that time?
I've had a very lucky career that everything I've done has all been inbound, that I've never had to approach people like all of the brand deals I get, it's all the companies coming to me. So I think the biggest thing is putting yourself out there to show the work that you can do. So it was, back then it was me putting out all of these different products that got the attention of the companies. And now it's putting out all of these ideas in different formats on the internet. So I think it's showcasing your skills and really honing into like, what's that one thing that like only you can do, and they're gonna wanna come and knock on your door because they wanna have access to what you can do. I think that's probably the biggest thing, and the biggest success that I've had is like, I've just focused on making the dumbest things for the internet, and now everyone knows that if you want something dumb for an internet video, you come call me. So that's I guess where I've been lucky, but it's also kind of been crafted that way to work.
Okay, we have one more question here, and I just want to say, if folks haven't seen already, if you want to get a headshot that looks as professional as the ones that Matty has, you can go down there and see the Storyworks booth. I think they might have slots available. Last question.
What is that? What is the invention that you most use in like your life that you like made, if you like use any of them?
That I most use. I built one that it's this big long floppy arm that sits next to my toilet that is a phone stand. So when I'm going to the bathroom, I always put my phone there every single day. That's probably the one that I can't really avoid it because it's sort of like right there and it's bright red and it stares at me. So that's probably the one that physically gets used the most.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks
Matt.
everybody for
Thank you
coming.
so much.